Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our strengths where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Rob Squared today. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
What up, Mario?
Not much, man. Another good week of football for me. You know, things have started looking good for the past 2 weeks for me, fantasy football-wise. Hi, Nina. Got ETN and K. We were just talking about in our group chat. The ETN KW3 combo is just rolling good.
Yeah, I don't see it stopping. So,
yeah, me either. So it's gonna be good times the rest of the year. I feel like.
Yeah,
I hope so. I really do. I think they're super fun to watch. I feel like I have missed quite a bit on RBs as of recent, or just kind of faded them. So finally having some ones that are explosive, fun to watch has been nice for myself.
yeah. That's how I was with Brees this year.
Stop. That makes me sad.
Yeah, me too.
Sad.
Trust me.
It is sad. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we got a good show today. We do our favorite. We get back to our Dynasty talk. Last week kind of got dominated by the trades that happened throughout the league. But this week we get to actually have that Dynasty talk. And I have some good topics to cover. We're going to get into some things that have been pressing my mind lately, also kind of seeing where your head's at on certain situations. But first, let's get into the Monday Night Football game. We also have Waiver Wire right after that. But Monday Night Football game, the Ravens ended up pretty much smacking down on the Saints. It was bad. It wasn't that fun for fantasy.
No.
Yeah. Not
Unless
really.
you started Kenyon Drake.
I started Likely a ton, and it was good enough. I think he was tight end 11 on the week.
Yeah.
that
Started hot.
That one play really saved him.
Yeah, and he had some open targets.
Yeah.
He's good, man. He's very good. It sucks that he's in an offense with Mark Andrews, because like he could be one. We could be talking about him as like a top echelon tight end if he was the only tight end there. We'll see how it plays out, but I like him a lot. He's very versatile. They don't have receivers there, so he could still be valuable. They might just try to get him on the field as much as possible, because right now he's pretty much our only playmaker.
Yeah, I think there is a situation where they could run two tight ends. Everybody wants to see it first, but I think he's a great stash.
Especially with Bateman out the rest of the year.
Duvernay hurt his hammy that game. That it was like another target for them, right?
Yeah. And Duvernay like shows up when he wants. It looks like one game he does awesome. He's not a one, right? So if he's thrown into that one spot, like a really good cornerback can shut him down. Like we've seen it. That's how it's going to be the rest of the year, in my opinion, with him as being the wide receiver one. So you might as well take advantage of mismatches with Likely, Mark Andrews, do some weird stuff like that. And hopefully, I mean, I have high hopes for him.
Yeah. Norton, I want to talk about a little bit the backfield, the Ravens backfield. So Gus Edwards is hurt. Kenyon Drake has looked great. Obviously, Justice Hill is not really a factor anymore. J.K. Dobbins is set to return before the season ends. What the hell are you doing rest of season, not only this game?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting because Drake looked pretty good. I mean, he played well. He's looked pretty good a couple times this year for them, but it seemed like the week that he looked really good, the following week Gus
came back.
Yeah, came back and looked good. So I'm kind of expecting that, honestly. I'm expecting as soon as Gus gets back, I'm expecting him to kind of get more of the lead role.
Yeah.
I don't know if like Drake has kind of played his way into a little bit more playing time because they do split. And I don't think that Gus is going to be like a full 3-down workhorse at any point. Drake, I expect Drake to still see like passing down work, like long down in the distance, 2-minute drill maybe. So he could have some, but this is also an offense that with Lamar that doesn't throw to the running back a ton.
Yeah.
So I think I honestly think that we just saw the best game from Drake, and I do think if Gus is back this week, he's kind of take a lot of that work. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. Exactly what you said. I think once you see that one, the first Drake game before Gus was back, he looked awesome. He looked like he was the man there. Then Gus Edwards comes back, and then he's the man. He gets all the touches. He looks like he's going to be at least the goal line back, get all those short yardage options, which I still think he's going to. Then he gets hurt. Then Drake comes back. He looks great again. I'm still with you. I think it's going to be Edwards in like, I would say like a 60-40, 65-35 kind of timeshare is what I'm thinking. Maybe like 15 touches for Gus Edwards, 8 or so for Kenyon Drake. But like you said, Lamar Jackson just eats up so much of the potential running that it's going to be a tough play, both of them. I have high hopes for Gus Edwards. I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back healthy because he can at least get you those goal line touchdowns and stuff like that. I think he's the more valuable back to own than Drake.
And he's more efficient too. He's been really efficient throughout his entire career. Honestly, I think he's like 5 yards per carry or something like that. Like not that I'm like huge on yards per carry, but like, I mean, obviously in this kind of offense, a running quarterback helps efficiency, but he's been able to be good like pretty much every time they've had him out there. So
yeah, and J.K. Dobbins for me, I don't know. I don't see him coming back.
Yeah,
personally, like if they were smart, they would sit him out. And I think that's a long play. They're playing good enough. They're going to probably win the AFC North. So yeah, you want him there, but if he's not himself,
they would save him for playoffs, probably.
At least save him for the playoffs. Like, I don't think I'd throw him in regular season. I'd just let him sit out the rest of the year. They already have a pretty big lead in the AFC North. No team's really stepping up. I mean, Cincinnati can make a push, but until they figure their stuff out, Jamar Chase is out for a while too. So, like, why rush? Why even put him in the position to get hurt again in the regular season if you have control in that division?
Yeah. It feels a lot like Jerick McKinnon a few years back ended up missing the whole season. I don't think he ever returned and played, but it has that same sort of feeling. And I could see that with JK. And I think the different situations between McKinnon and JK is likely going to be on a team that goes to the playoffs, where McKinnon, I think at that time was on Minnesota and they were pretty bad. So I think I am not counting on him returning for regular season either. And then even if he does, it's hard to imagine a situation where you're like, yeah, I'm going to play him right in my playoffs. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you might get him for your championship game. I think if you have an IR spot, sure, stash him. I would shop him, see what you could get, but I don't know if that's even a lot.
Yeah, even if he comes back, it's going to be limited.
Exactly.
Limited work.
Saints side of the ball, there's really kind of all of the same. Alvin Kamara wasn't near as hot for this game. Ravens kind of shut that down a little bit. Also, game script. Is there anything to note on this Saints offense that we need to talk about? Like, Juwan Johnson had a long TD again, kind of fluky. You liked it. You like it. He's really inconsistent. So talk about him. He's a really inconsistent tight end to me.
I think you can do worse with the tight end spot this year. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Like, tight end this year is, I don't ever remember it being like this. I know it's always like not good, but this year seems to be especially like weird. Where I was kind of saying it yesterday, like, okay, you have your tight end, you don't want to roster two, 100% agree with that, but you're playing the matchup game, which is fine. But as this season, for whatever reason it is, you go through matchup based stuff and you're like, okay, this defense is terrible against the tight end. He's a decent tight end, kind of like Gerald Everett this week, or Hawkinson this week, stuff like that. And then they just don't produce against those bad defenses. It's such a weird year where like you want to play the matchup, but nobody's thriving off the matchup. It seems like a tight end's going to have a good week, but you don't know when it's going to be, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. So
yeah,
it's a tough one, man.
Well, I want to get more of your thoughts on that, so let's play a game of
Would You Rather.
I timed that up perfectly. All right. So obviously, name of the game, Would You Rather? We're obviously doing Juwan Johnson. This is going to be a rest of season outlook.
Well,
Juwan Johnson.
Let's preface this though. How long does Andy Dalton stay in?
Well, that's part of the game, but yes.
Right?
Because I think that matters.
It does.
Yeah, definitely matters.
So think of it this way, though. We're looking at waivers, right? And we're wondering, okay, Juwan Johnson's out of my waivers. Who do I want to drop for him? I'm dropping a tight end. So that's what I need you to decide today.
Okay.
Gerald Everett,
I would say, because you've got it. I think Everett's valuable with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there.
Okay.
Yep, Everett.
One of those guys needs to be there.
Okay. Tunyon.
Juwan.
What?
With Andy Dalton.
You would drop Tunyon.
I'm leaning Tunyon just because with Romeo Dobbs hurt, and
He didn't do shit against Detroit.
I know
With
it is.
Dobbs out.
It is rough.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm sure Tunyon's gonna put up. Probably he'll go against like the Saints or something and put up 20 points. But that's what I'm saying. There's no rhyme or reason to this whole tight end situation.
I thought that was gonna be an easy one, like Tunyon. Juwan Johnson has 6 targets the last 2 games.
He's producing.
He had 3.4 2 weeks ago. Okay.
So Tunyon had what, like 3 points this week against the worst defense in the league?
5.9.
Okay.
And the 3 points for Juwan Johnson came against Las Vegas. Anyways,
That's what I'm saying.
Gesicki or Juwan Johnson?
Oh fuck.
I'm surprised that's closer than
I guess Gesicki.
See, I've been lower on Gesicki. I might go Juwan there, but I get the case though, because it's definitely a much better offense. Like Miami's been awesome. And Gesicki has run more routes recently, but I guess for me, the real thing with Gesicki is whether Durham Smythe plays or not.
Yeah, 'cause he did this week, and it was bad.
Let's do this,
dude. Every game he's played, he's been bad. Every game he's sat, Gesicki did pretty well.
Yeah, that's so weird.
It's fair. Why don't you do our tight end waiver wire pickup, and we could go through those while we're doing this.
Okay, we'll jump to the tight ends because we are done with the game here. But last one before we go to the waiver wires, because I think this one's going to be a fun one too, because one's trending down, one's trending up. Tyler Higbee or Juwan Johnson?
Wow.
Give me Juwan, baby.
Yeah, I think I might at this point, which is crazy considering how good Higbee was to start the year.
Yeah, he was
Fool's gold. Him. I have a list
Every
of fool's gold. All right, so then we're going to continue this over to the tight ends on our tight end waiver, and after that, Norton, I'll get you to kind of chat about your favorite one. So out of the guys that are on this list, Juwan Johnson or Greg Dulcich? What's up, Fantasy Whispers?
What's going on?
Boys are back.
Definitely Dulcich.
Dulcich for me too. Cole Kmet
He's
Or-
one, like, go get him if he's on your waiver.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
should
Go
have
get him.
stashed him last week. You should have held the bye, I think.
Yep.
I am pretty high on Dulcich. Cole
Same.
Kmet or Jawan Johnson?
Give me
I mean, you
Kmet.
have to go with Johnson, I think.
I'd probably go with Kmet too. I just don't find the appeal with Jawan yet.
See, I'm at the point where with Kmet where like
Things are turning.
Yeah, they're starting to come around. Like Fields and the Bears are
Hey.
starting to play a lot better. So
I have a claim out for him in one of my leagues, but I said the same thing 2 weeks ago as Kyle Pitts.
Well, wait,
I'm
wait,
like,
wait.
it's
So-
Kyle Pitts season. Let's go. It's time to eat. And
Well, the worst part is I just saw that Jawan Johnson is actually higher than Kyle Pitts in points scored. Sad day for all fantasy. Yes. But in that league that you have a claim out for Cole Kmet, is Jawan Johnson on your waiver wire?
so what I can no, but I'll preface this. This is how I did it. I put 3 claims in.
You saw Detroit. You said, "Oh yeah, baby."
Yeah. Well, I put 3 claims in. I went in for Dolchik is still in there. So I put a claim in for him. And then Kate Otten and Cole Kmet.
Well, that brings us to the next one: Kate Otten or Jawan Johnson.
Kate Otten. I think he's going to be very good coming in the back half of the season.
Norton.
I guess Kate Otten probably.
I'd probably go there too. But I think I'm lower on Jawan Johnson than I definitely know about Robbie. I might be closer to Norton.
I'm
Noah
not, like,
Fant.
super high on Juwan Johnson. Don't get me wrong. We just started playing the game. But
I don't know. These are.
I'm
these
just
are
getting
pretty
into
high.
I'm just trying to make a point. Like, I don't think you can play, like, you want to play a matchup based tight
You have him-
end.
I think
get
you
it
have him right around 13. I'm serious.
with Andy Dalton.
It's the thing is, like, honestly, the thing is I don't even think that's like too unrealistic. I was actually just trying to look up on Player Profiler now to see like what kind of route participation he's had, and like it's better than I thought. Like,
Well, okay.
so I'm like, that's legit.
He's involved.
There's somebody that they talked about on last night's episode that while you're on that website, can you give us a little bit more insight? Because so we just Noah Fant was the last one. Real quickly, Jawan or Noah Fant from both of you?
I'll go Juwan.
Juwan.
I like Noah. I feel like Noah's been turning up a little bit more.
He has though. Yeah, he has.
So those are the 4 waivers on the list that you have here.
You just destroyed me last week for having Noah Fant on my DFS plays.
Yeah, he turned up last week. It was a great play. What I am
It was
fluid.
fantastic.
I don't like. I this is what I don't understand. You guys all come after me, and I'm like, man, I could change the tune, dude. I could flip. What am I supposed to do? Just go down a sinking ship? There are certain things I will do.
I
that
think
way.
Noah Fant has certain teams he plays very well against.
He's starting to get targeted more. He looked really good in this last game. He got a ton more targets than Will Dissly. I was pretty sad because I started Will Dissly, so I even monitored it a little bit closer. But I still don't get you. Anyways, Cole Kmet is a guy that they talked about on last night's episode, and we were trying to figure out if his route participation has gone up drastically the past couple of weeks, because I know it was like 97, I think, last week. Can you dive into Cole Kmet a little bit on one of our waivers here?
Yeah. So let's see. We're gonna look up here and see
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
what his what his route participation looks like over the past few weeks, and it's actually been about the same. I mean, he hasn't topped 20 routes run the whole year. It looks like he's been between 11 and 20 every game, and he's been between like 58% route participation up to like 85%, but he had 85% in week 2. Like this past week, he was 67%, then 64, before that 64, 62, 78,
That's weird.
64.
I had a completely different number for that.
Really?
for
So
last
there's
week.
the snap share is high. The snap
I
share.
was like the route participation for Cole Kmet. It was way higher than what you're finding.
Interesting. Yeah, because against Miami, they have 20 routes run, 67% or 66.7% rate. They have a 98.6% snap share, and 6 targets, 5 receptions, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, my like saving grace for Cole Kmet is that Justin Fields realizes how big of a threat he is in the red zone, and the coaching staff realizes what he can do in the red zone, and they start targeting him where he needs to be targeted.
Yeah, he has four red zone targets in total the past 2 games and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe this could be the turning tide where, like, okay, this dude's just a mismatch in the red zone. We need to get him the ball. Kind of how why am I blanking? Jimmy
Graham.
Jimmy Graham was for the Saints, that kind of thing. He just was a monster in the red zone. Just throw the ball up a little high, he'll go get it.
Jimmy G played on this team, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was the reason that
some things.
I was to say he was the reason that people were like thinking, hoping that Komet would take that net.
Up.
Yeah, dude. The surprising thing with Juwan Johnson, when I was looking at his route participation, he's had
give it to me, baby.
4 games with at least 29 routes, 5 games with at least 27 routes. 1 game he had 32, 139. His rate has fluctuated a little bit more, but he's generally been in the 85, 60, 53, 69. On the year, he has the 7th most routes run in total among all tight ends. Juwan does, which
that's what I like to hear.
I would have never expected that. His route participation is 16th at 7, but it's at 71.3%, which is still like a great number. Anytime you're above like 65 for a tight end, 70. Once you get above 75, that's really starting to get really good. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely more interesting the more I dive into it. I will say that. And I wasn't really, like I said, I wasn't really down on him. I actually have him in Raz Bowl, so kind of a
who Juwan.
Yeah, so I was definitely pumped to see that.
Man, he's not bad. He's getting more involved. He's getting comfortable with Andy Dalton. Just depends on how long Andy Dalton's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like once Winston comes in, it could go sideways quick.
Yeah. Do you guys have offhand what games Winston played in?
I could get it for you real quick. Give me
because in the beginning of the season, Juwan he had a higher snap share in the first 2 games, then it dipped for 3 games, then he jumped back up. But he had 5 targets and 7 targets the first 2 games.
First 3 games.
Okay, the 3rd game was like his worst game. He had 1 target only and no receptions, but the first 2 games were pretty good.
Did he get hurt early in that game?
It's possible because he only had a 57% snap share, 47% route rate, 1 target. So
he might have been hurt.
It's possible because the first 2 games were nice. I mean, 73% snap share, 80%. Then he had like around 70% route rate.
How many? Do you have any numbers on catches in those?
I think this coincides more with Adam
6.
Troutman, although this was his first week back. Was this week, I believe. But I think this Troutman kind of and him split a lot. So like Troutman went down, and if he had a spike, I'm assuming that's where the spike came from. But he might have a stranglehold on this now.
Yeah, that's fair. Possible. Like we'll see what happens the next few weeks. Like I said, if I'm the Saints, I don't know how I can run Andy Dalton out again. I just don't know how they can do that. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
We're going to bounce back up because we talked about some of the tight ends. So for waiver wires and QBs, Norton, who's your favorite QB you're targeting this week? Last week, I believe it was Fields.
Yeah, because Fields dipped. He was still below 50%. And
I think it was Fields for you.
Yeah, it was. Because he was the one I featured in my article because he was only at 41% still on Yahoo. And I think we all said like, you get him. Like this is the last week you're gonna. Yeah, exactly. This is the last week you're gonna have a shot. And now that we've already mentioned the tight end, so I just want to say basically this is the, and we've kind of mentioned it with Dulcich, but this is the last week. It's your last call. Like that's the only reason he dipped was the bye. And otherwise he would be probably above 50%. So get him while you can. But yeah, in terms of the QBs, like you said, Fields was the one last week, clear cut. This week, I don't think there's like a clear cut guy. There's a few guys.
I like one of theirs on here a lot.
Interested to hear. I think my top one is Russ, but I don't I don't feel great about it. Like,
Yeah.
I like the matchup, and he's only at 54%. And I mean, I don't know.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, my hopes on Russ would be that they went back to the drawing board during the bye week.
Yeah, it is always that
Went to like,
comforting
hey,
feeling.
Russ, what do you
Yeah.
want to do? What kind of offense do you prefer? How can we run this based to your skill set, and where can we go? That's the only saving grace for Russell Wilson this season, and Denver as a whole. Like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, like they need to get on the same page. They have to figure something out. They have to drastically, maybe not drastically, but like hard tweak this offense into like a more Russ offense.
Oh, I mean, it's my biggest pet peeve. I say it all the freaking time, and I love what Getsy and Eberflus are doing with Fields. Thank God there's a coach that is new that decided, oh, this isn't working. Let's adjust.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
now Fields looks so good, and he's somebody that I have frequently said as well on this show is like I didn't think there was hope for him in Chicago. Now, just because of Chicago's situation, I loved him at OSU, but now, man, maybe he's the leader there. I don't want to get back into Fields, but Hackett, like to your point, Rob, please adjust. Please adjust. Like this ain't working, dude. Las Vegas, this ain't working anymore. Get back. All right. Daniel Jones is the one that I really liked on this list. It feels weirdly like before last week, and this may be something that we look back on and laugh at me for. Before last week, I was on Fantasy Whispers. They said Daniel Jones or Justin Fields. And we all were relatively at this point, because obviously Fields has been turning up before last week even. He was turning up quite a bit, and then last week was an explosion. I said Daniel Jones, but then I said this. I was like, it's so close that Daniel Jones has his bye this week that if you were looking to pick up one of them, obviously I'm going Fields because Daniel Jones bye. But Daniel Jones feels the same feels the same way because he's on his bye. We see him out at 40%. He's going against Houston, worst rush defense in the league. He should be they got a pretty solid secondary, but he's going to do some work on the ground, I think. Barkley as well.
So just for this week?
No, I like Daniel Jones rest of season. I really do.
I always I try to refrain from the Daniel Jones love a little bit because I've loved him
so
basically. Yeah, I wrote he was my featured player this week in my streamer article, and featured QB, and I had mentioned the same thing like you said, Mario, where Houston's so bad against the run, and he's one of the sneakily one of the best running quarterbacks in the league. Like people don't realize it, but he's like top 3, top 4 in rushing yards, rushing attempts. Like he has more rushing yards than Jalen Hurts. Like, I mean, that's
pretty insane, but they've been letting Hurts just throw lately.
Yeah, true. And Hurts has more rushing touchdowns for what it's worth, but yeah, I was kind of surprised to see that just because of the perception of both of them. And I don't think it's that. I mean, I obviously liked Fields more too. I featured him like last week or whatever and talked about him, but I don't think it was that crazy considering Jones was coming off a 31-point game. I think it was the previous week. So
he might have put a stinker and then
it
was 31, then a stinker.
Then a 9. Yeah. He was 31, then 9. So he's like Rob said though, he is super inconsistent, and that's been kind of like a microcosm of his career, basically. I mean, you look at him, he has these flashes where he'll make these even in game. I mean, you'll see flashes where he makes a great throw, or he'll make a great play, and then he has those plays where it's so ridiculously bad, or things where he just falls down or messes up. That's just been his whole career. So to me, he's always been a guy, he's always going to be this guy where he's going to be around 40 to 60%, depending on the matchup, depending on how he's played recently. And then he's always a threat to give you a single digit game. So I do like him this week though. I mean, against Houston.
And to both your point, he has finished top 12, only twice this year. QB3,
Yeah.
QB8. I think I am thinking he's gonna get more consistent. That it's just
I
hard.
don't see a path.
They're coming off a bye. Wandale is starting to turn up.
don't see a path.
They're learning. He's got under the ball system even longer now. Like, I just think that he's a great. Like, if you were asking me, like, Dak Prescott or Daniel Jones, I might go Daniel Jones. Although
You are wild.
Although Dak Prescott has been turning up on the ground lately, which has been fun to see.
You're wild. Both keep moving.
It's the rushing ability, dude. Like, Dak hasn't really ran that much. Like, Aaron Rodgers or Daniel Jones, who do you go?
So that completely different.
Is it though?
Yes.
Why?
Because Dak can still throw the ball.
Dak had QB4 last in week 8, I guess. But he rushed a lot in that game. 34.
Dude, he was
on the ground.
His first game back, he was 18 and then 4. Now he's on a bye. Like,
I would take that. I would take
him
Danny
and CD
Jones
are gonna go crazy in the back.
Give
half.
me Daniel Jones over Dak.
Over Dak.
Rest of the season.
It's a little wild, but
I'll take that bet.
All right. Fantasy points only.
Yeah.
All right. Injury.
Fantasy points per game.
Yeah, either or. Fantasy points per game
that
keeps
could
you
go
the
down
injuries
again.
away, I guess. Let's get into RBs. Now I feel like I got backed up against the corner by Rob.
I mean, you're wild. Throwing wild claims out there.
I think you're just sleeping on Danny Dimes a little bit.
Okay.
No,
I'd
am
rather
I
have
crazy?
Jimmy Garoppolo than Danny Dimes.
oh, he
Wait,
said
you picked
no.
Aaron Rodgers?
Let's do that. I'll do Jimmy G against him.
Robbie, that's a free win for me.
Is it?
In fantasy, absolutely.
Because let's look at his last 4 games. QB 8, 11, 7, 14. He just got CMC. The weapons are everywhere. He's just got to get
Jimmy
the
G.
ball to these players.
Jimmy G it is.
Okay.
Let's go to RBs.
Dude, he's had more. I'm just saying.
I'm in between you on this. Like, I rank it between them. I rank it Dak, Daniel Jones, Jimmy G.
Like you said.
That's hilarious.
Like you said, Danny Dimes has 2 inside the top 12 all season. And Jimmy G has 3 in his last 4.
Yeah, but
and got one of the best receiving
Jones
backs in the game.
One game where he was under 12 and a half points. One. His floor is high.
I'll take that bet. That's fine.
One game under 12 and a half. And it was
Jimmy
last week against
Jimmy
Seattle.
G or Danny Jones. I'm in.
Not this past week, but before their bye. All right, RBs. Norton, kick us off with your favorite one here. I hope it's the one I love.
Oh, it's gonna be. I'm by the sounds of the group chat.
I'm sitting out.
Jeff Wilson Jr. is the top one for me.
Oh yeah, baby.
It was definitely. I mean, he looked like he was on a roller coaster, man. He looked like his fantasy value was basically dead when they traded for CMC, and the fact that Eli Mitchell was coming back, and it was just like, man, now this guy's going to be relegated like third string.
I was expecting him to not be active anymore.
Yeah, it was very, very possible. Then they dealt him in Miami.
Best possible spot.
Yep, it ended up being seriously, yeah. Because I mean, I'm not a big
serious.
Yeah, I'm not a big injury prone guy. You guys know that. But obviously, I think any running back can go down at any point, and Mostert has every time so far. I mean, obviously, it's great to see him staying healthy this year. He's played really well for them, but the thing is, Jeff Wilson knows that system. He even talked about it, how he walked in, knew the system really well, was super familiar, and
what's up, guys?
and
before.
Yeah, so and the crazy part was he outsnapped him. He outsnapped Mostert after Mostert was running Mostert was literally like a workhorse, and then all of a sudden Jeff Wilson steps in, and I think he was 51% of snaps. They both had 9 carries, I believe, and Wilson I think had 1 extra target, and Wilson outproduced him. They both had a touchdown. I think it's going to be, kind of a committee from that. But the thing is, he's got that like what we thought maybe that Melvin Gordon was going to have in the beginning of the year, where it was like a committee, but with contingency of being a handcuff, or a bit like a high upside handcuff.
Yeah.
If the guy goes down, where obviously it didn't work
Like,
out
where-
that way
Where you
for
can
Melvin,
sneak
but
him in your flex, but also there's huge upside if something
yeah,
happens to
like a
the-
Kareem Hunt, but obviously like a way cheaper
They're 1A,
version. Clearly,
1B probably, right?
Right.
I know we've seen one game, but this very much screams, and Robbie said it, and I think he's absolutely spot on with this. They're probably going to limit Mostert from here on out. They didn't like how many touches he was getting. Out of all the people, McDaniel knows. Like, he knows what he's dealing with. He's 29. Like, it might be limited for most.
Yeah, especially because they look like they're trying to obviously they look. Yeah, they look good this year. They're trying to make a playoff run.
They're trying to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, honestly,
They're all in.
It's very possible. I mean, they're one of the better teams in the AFC, so they definitely are all in. They want to keep guys fresh. So Wilson, to me, I mean, I don't think it's like a super strong week, but he's like right around that 50% threshold. He's probably gone up a little bit, but yeah. And for me, he's the top one, and he's playing Cleveland this week. So
yeah, that's where it might be a super strong week.
Yeah,
kicking the Nuggets, you know. Keep going at it.
I am so sad, dude, because I have so many buys that all the teams that I did have him rostered on, he's gotten plugged in on like all of them.
Yeah,
sucks for Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm pissed. But
Robbie, is there any of these RBs you wanted to touch on? We have Latavius Murray is owned 31% of leagues. He goes against Tennessee. Rashad White 34% versus Seattle. Jarrett McKinnon 14% versus Jacksonville.
No, but I want to get your heat check on Norton specifically. What's your heat check on White?
We're all in. Push them all in.
Like, is Lenny the Lenny tide switching?
It's starting to, for sure, definitely. That's the thing that's scary, is that Lenny's usage is starting to come down, and like the thing is like I've always been a big Fournette guy. Like, you guys know that I've always argued for him, but it really wasn't even the fact that like I liked Fournette specifically. Like, I feel like he's been
85%.
Yeah, like I feel like he's been inefficient most of his career. Really, I mean, like but he was in a situation where you're playing running back, well, like a workhorse role as a running back on a team with Tom Brady. It was like that's one of the juiciest roles you can have in fantasy. So like, but I think lately, White's like snap share and touch share has gone up. I mean, Lenny, 2 of the past 3 games has been under 60% snap share. 3 straight games under 10 carries. He's still running a lot of routes. Like, that's the encouraging part about Lenny. He's still out there on passing downs. He's run like 20 plus routes every game, but the first game of the year. So he ran 20.
Expensive JD McKissick.
Big one.
Yeah, it's just like he's
a
getting
big
to that
JD
point.
McKissick. Yeah,
he's getting to that point, really, honestly. But I do think that they might start turning to White more. It's very possible. Like there's some beat reports out there saying that they might start working White in even more and more. So like
better.
Yeah, I do agree. He does definitely look better. So like I've even though I've liked Lenny so much, I've stashed White pretty much in like every league. I mean, I have him like so much because, again, for me, it was all about with Lenny. It's just all about the role. Yeah, exactly. So like if White is getting that role, and I honestly think he might be more explosive, more talented. So if White is if he somehow gets that full role, like if he takes on even 50% of it, that's solid. Like he'll turn into a flex play. If Lenny gets hurt, White becomes like, dude, he could be a top 10, 15 kind of back like every week. So that's kind of where I am. I mean, I like I said, I've been trying to get him pretty much everywhere as cheap as possible as I can, just in case. So I've been stashing him on a lot of benches.
He's such an interesting dynasty hold because Lenny just signed that contract for 3 years. I mean, obviously cuts and everything happened, but just it was something that deterred me away when our startup taking Rashad White. I think he was I don't remember what round it was, but it was like I looked at Lenny's contract and I went, I don't know if I want to do this.
Well, and that's the thing that's tough is because I think we've all talked about it before with rookie running backs. Like usually that rookie contract is when you get the most fantasy value out of your running back. So like if you got Rashad White and like you said, Lenny's there for another 3 years, that's like most of his contract. I mean, so like most of them don't
Tony
get
Pollard, right? Like.
Right. That's the thing. It's frustrating because you don't get that. Like a lot of them might even get the second contract.
Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, both those guys got. Austin Eckler sat behind Melvin Gordon. Derrick Henry sat behind
DeMarco and then Deion Lewis.
DeMarco.
Yeah, they like the Deion Lewis days were short, but the DeMarco, he was behind DeMarco for at least 2 years.
Side note too, I can't even believe the Deion Lewis stuff. Literally, like during the Sunday night game when it was on, I was going through. My wife probably didn't even care about any of this, but I was just like rattling off all of his high school stats, all of his college stats, and then I showed her the size and picture of Deion Lewis, and I was like, "Yeah, he sat behind this guy." And she was even baffled. I'm like, "Yeah, I don't understand what the coach is thinking," but
Was it Vrabel at that point or no? He was there for some of it, right?
I think so, but I don't think he was the head coach at the time. I don't know though, to be honest.
Let's hit wide receiver very fast. Is there anybody that you really want to make a claim for? Like you're all about? Because I look at this list and like I think a lot of these guys aren't available. But I was surprised by the percentages that it shows. But so anybody that you really want to stake a claim here for?
If you can grab Darnell Mooney, I'm still in on him, man. I've been saying it for the past few weeks. I think he's getting more and more involved in this offense. Justin Fields is targeting him more. The offense is going more, I don't want to say more pass heavy, but more efficient in their passes and their like scheme. Like you talked earlier, like they switch the offense around to suit Justin Fields. Justin Fields is targeting Mooney. Hopefully Kmet gets a little bit of that love too, but Mooney looks good the past, I want to say 4 or 5 weeks. He's looked pretty decent. Like he's at least flexible for me from here on out, getting back into that wide receiver 2 range. And I hope it kind of keeps upticking because he has the potential to do it.
Yeah.
Let me go through the list. George Pickens, 55%. If he's out there, go grab him ASAP. I think he's the number 1. I just don't expect him to be out there in many competitive leagues. Mecole Hardman, 48%. That's an interesting one, Norton. He's been turning up recently. Wan'Dale Robinson, 25%. Shockingly low, but also it's weird. Like, it's kind of understandable. I think he has more value in Dynasty, maybe.
Coming off a bye, too.
Yeah,
the bye.
Terrence Marshall, 6%. He's been turning up. Zay Jones, 24%. Rondale Moore, 35%. Any quick hitters there, boys?
For me, deep leagues, what's that guy's name from Green Bay?
Samari Toure.
The Toyney dude.
Yeah, Samari Toure.
They have to throw it to somebody. He looked good.
Dobbs is out for at least
a little bit, I would assume.
Did Christian Watson get concussed again?
Who cares? He's not good.
Whoa.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, even when Watson was on there with that guy, with how do you say his last name? Torre. So even when Watson was out with Torre had the better game. He looked better. He was getting open.
Did not suffer a concussion.
So for me, Torre is going to hop into that Dobbs role right off rip. And that's the role that A-Rod started having chemistry with. So he could be a sneaky play for the next few weeks. Hopefully, I don't know. I mean, hopefully they figure some shit out. But yeah, it'd have to be a deep league. It'd have to be like, I picked him up. I'm trying to pick him up in a 16-teamer. Yeah. Dobbs going down, it's a gut punch to some teams. And there might not be a ton of, like, I would probably rather have Torre than Mecole Hardman.
Ugh.
I'd rather have him over Terrence Marshall.
Mecole Hardman's been pretty freaking good for fantasy the past couple of weeks.
Like 2 weeks, right?
It's interesting with Hardman
and with this Kansas City offense. Like, who's gonna? Like you can throw Mecole Hardman. Yeah, he can get you 20 points, but then he can get you 0.
Wide receiver 3 and then wide receiver 6.
Dude, it is wild. And like Rob said, like, dude, any week is like any given guy. And then I'm like he has been so good. That's why I wanted to list him there. But the thing is like, I'm also, I just can't quit Kadarius Toney too. And like, they traded for him, and like
MVS seems to be the one that they're fading out, though, boys.
Yeah. True, yeah, probably.
MVS is, and that's the crazy part because he's the one that is signed for 3 years. Mecole don't have a contract next year. Juju don't have a contract next year, and I swear I didn't see MVS a ton in even the last game.
I just think we need to, at this point, like MVS for fantasy, like it's a no-go.
None of us were like, we were all kind of toting that though, right? Like, I don't think any of us
at the beginning of this season, there was some love for him a little bit, but like
on Twitter there was,
I think we've seen it over the past like 3 seasons where like Aaron Rodgers in preseason's talking him up like he's going to be the next coming. And the guy just can't, like, for whatever reason it is, like he just doesn't produce. They use them in a gimmicky way. They try to stretch the field with them, kind of pull the safety with them to get the other people open. That's fine. That's an offensive like skill set. You're valuable to a team with that. But for fantasy football, like I don't see it. He's not doing it with Aaron Rodgers. Then he comes here. He's not doing it with Patty Mahomes. Like,
it's not
see
gonna
ya, dude. I don't want to hear your name again.
And I think, I agree on that. I think of this list, like I think Terrace Marshall is going to be probably the one that ends up getting the most added because he's only at 6%. He's kind of the one that seems to be like the hottest on waiver wire articles, the hottest, especially because he's had 2 straight really good weeks with spikes in like target share and route share, snap share, things like that. And then he's playing against Atlanta again this week.
Who's going to be the quarterback?
Walker is starting again.
Walker, yeah.
Darnold's so it's like, coming back. It could be Baker. Like, dude, obviously he's on a short leash, right?
Yeah. What's wild is like, I don't know. Like, honestly, out of all the 3 quarterbacks, I don't even know which one I want. I don't even know which one's like.
You have no clue.
I don't know which one's an upgrade.
Changes. The Robbie Anderson, I think, is the most impactful thing. I don't think it's so much the quarterback. I think Robbie Anderson being gone is what has kind of sparked this Terrace Marshall run a little bit.
Which is weird. Like, if I'm Carolina, 90% of my targets are going to DJ Moore.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
What are we doing?
Why would it's just so ridiculous, dude?
Just throw him the ball. Like every time you throw the ball, just throw it to him.
If I was quarterback, I'd be doing it.
I don't get it. I don't know. If Baker's back there, I think Terrace Marshall might have some value. PJ Walker, okay. But if Darnold's there, I think he's just gonna throw a ton to DJ Moore. So if Darnold comes in, I'm out on everyone but sides DJ Moore.
Yeah, it's rough. Like, and again, there's a reason he's 6%. So it's like it's thin, but
it's deep.
Yeah.
Let's get into some Dynasty chat, boys.
Yeah, buddy.
You guys want to talk some Dynasty? Robbie's frozen, a little bit frozen.
Good.
There he goes.
He's speechless.
I got a little bit left in me.
All right. So the concept or the strategy that I really wanted to dive into today, and let's not focus on anything under 12 teams for this topic because obviously 12 teams is the most common. 10 teams pretty common. But we're going to be talking 12, and then maybe even some like quick highlights of 14. Team Dynasty Superflex. I want to talk about QB strategy. So when you're looking at your team, and I'm trying to think of like 2 QBs that you might have. Okay, well let's ask the first question here. Sorry. Are there any young QBs from this 2022 class? We could talk about Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, that you're like, look, I'm going to need a QB soon. I got Ryan Tannehill right now and things aren't looking great. Or I got
Cousins,
Derek Carr and things aren't looking good. Kirk Cousins in fantasy isn't looking great. Like, I need to start thinking about acquiring a new QB for this team so I could start making a run because this at my Superflex ain't working. Maybe it's their QB1. Again, Superflex changes everything, man. People hoard on to QB. So you could be really weak at QB. So is there any of these guys, the 2022 class, that you're targeting? Whoever wants to kick off here can.
I don't like any of them.
Yeah, I don't.
To be honest, like I guess if I had to pick one of them, I would say Malik.
Yeah, that's for me
because
too.
I think he's going to have the clearest path to being good. Tannehill's not good. We know this now, especially like he's being exposed with not having AJ Brown there. Derrick Henry's still your running back for a little while, and his rushing upside is what really makes me want him. I mean, Ritter's an interesting one as well, just because of that rushing upside. But I think Malik is I haven't seen too much of it, like we've seen this past game and stuff like that. But he can be an elite rushing quarterback.
Yeah, we have to imagine that the playbook isn't everything is set up for Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, so we're talking next season, correct? Like, if we're talking next season.
I'm just saying, because you said you haven't seen much, but I have to think that
fair.
There's better days ahead for Malik once if he is named
100%. So like if end of the season they cut bait with Tannehill, they completely redo the playbook, get him a receiver. You got Derrick Henry back there. It could be something different. It could be a unique situation.
You're running 50 times a game.
It could be like a Justin Fields of this season.
Dude, like. It's funny. It's funny you mentioned it because I was just checking up on Player Profiler just to see some different stats of like his game log. But at the top, they always have the comparable, and that's the best comparable is Justin Fields. So it's like, but I agree with you on
the one knock on. I'm sorry, real quick. The one knock on him coming into the league this season was like he is so unpolished as a quarterback. So it could, like, who knows, dude? They might slow play him out like Aaron Rodgers for 2-3 seasons. Let him sit there. If you want my honest opinion, I'm trading for Jordan Love.
This is so silly.
You can get him super cheap, and I think
that might be true because he's probably on your waivers.
You can get him super cheap.
Maybe not at the start of this year anymore.
And I think he's going to be the guy in Green Bay. He's got, for whatever's going on this season, we've seen it the past few years. Like, he has a very good head coach, offensive-minded coach. They got to get him a few weapons, no question about it. But if they can bring in some weapons for the guy, I think he can be something good.
You know what? I shouldn't call it silly because I think it's actually kind of, at least it's something, right? We're trying to look for direction here. I need help. I need to find a QB. I need somebody that I think can be starter for a while.
If like you're asking me,
Jordan Love fits that bill, right? Like he is young. Green Bay likes to nurture their players. Everything kind of there's no indication that they're like, yeah, we're drafting a QB.
No, and not to mention like how this season's playing itself out and how bad they look and stuff like that. This, for me, my heat check on like Aaron Rodgers retiring is at an all-time high. Like, this is where I could see him saying, you know what?
The moment they miss playoffs, I think you retire.
I'm fucking out of here. I'm done with this. Like, he didn't even want to come back this season. Then they threw a ton of money at him. So he came back. Like, this could be the final, like, knife in the coffin where it's like, all right, dude, I'm done. I don't want to play. Bring it.
Knife in the coffin.
Yeah, it was a bad one.
Nail in the coffin.
When I said it, dude, right when I said it. But it could be like the final straw for him where he retires. Jordan Love comes in. Like I said, dude, God damn it. They have...
I got it. We got it. Jordan
Love is my target.
If they get him some weapons.
I'm just saying, if you ask me who has the best potential to be a good play, like him or Kenny Pickett, give me Jordan Love.
What are you paying for him if he's not off of waivers? And how much has his price gone up as every week that Green Bay loses?
It's a good question. I mean, I have him in both my Dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
And I have not been offered a trade for him, which surprises the hell out of me because I'd be throwing. I'd be throwing. Like, if I was a shitty team, I'd be trying to get him no matter what.
Would you take him for a second? 23 seconds.
Would I take him? No, but I think that's where I would start.
Okay.
I would throw a second and see what they say, kind of get a heat check. And then I would throw a second with like an Adam Thielen, something like that.
Aging
Maybe
receiver.
an
I would've
aging
gone
receiver
Thielen.
that you don't have
Thielen
to.
doesn't move the needle for me in Dynasty.
Yeah, but if you can throw him to a team that's like making a playoff push that might need a receiver, that makes sense. And just an aging receiver like that I don't care if he's on my team or
Yeah.
not.
And especially if it's like a competing team that has like pretty like solidified QBs. Like, because I know like me, if I'm pretty solid at QBs and I needed wide receiver help, I'd probably take that. Like
my
just-
Patty Mahomes and Justin Fields team. Mario.
yeah.
Norton. So out of those three guys or other, I have a feeling I know what an other would look like if you were to talk about him, but who are you targeting if you're like desperately like, you know what, it ain't my year, but I really need to turn the ship on some QBs here. Or, and I'll leave this open to you because I have it listed, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to chop you off here.
No,
maybe
good.
you have a 1 to 2 year plan. We got 23 class. We got Stroud, Young, the dude from Kentucky, Levi.
Levis, Levis or Levis or
you got the 24 class. Quinn Ewers is probably coming out, definitely coming out, right? In 24.
Yeah. Drake May is a beast.
Caleb Williams. Like, are you looking to grab those to kind of fill up your QB? Are you looking, like, I want your strategy altogether. Are you looking to spend a shit ton to try to get Joe Burrow, to try to get Jalen Hurts? It's probably a shit ton for Justin Fields right now. He's probably a top 8 dynasty QB currently.
Yeah, especially with the run he's on and has in his age. I mean, I've mentioned before, I'm more of a current like wanting guys now type of player. So I would probably first target young current QBs. So like you said, like Justin Fields, even if it's expensive for me, depending on how expensive, of course, but like if I can give up like any players especially any players that I don't have like plans on long term, then I'm definitely entertaining that, even if they're like awesome right now.
Yeah.
What do you think a Fields would cost?
At least 2 first, right?
At
And
least.
12 or 14.
Yeah, I was trying to think back of. I saw someone in a Discord that I was in that said they traded for Fields recently and it cost them a lot. Like it was like a lot. So like I wish I could find it, but they I know, or it was even honestly, I think it might have even been in a dynasty league that I'm in. I think it was they gave up 2 firsts and like, man, I'm drawing
You
a
need
blank.
to get a haul to give up on a young QB.
It was seriously like a ton. Here it is. It's Daniel Jones. Well, it was the guy gave up Daniel Jones, Devontae Adams, and a second round for just Fields. So it was for a guy who it's obviously definitely more.
What week was this?
This week. This like literally 13 hours ago.
Actually, look,
I
man,
wouldn't do that if I had Fields.
See, that's what
I value QBs way more than I think a lot of people.
I wouldn't do that.
But see, Mario, I was gonna say you were just talking about Daniel Jones.
I know I know. I forgot
So
he was even in there. I was just thinking about Devontae Adams.
But that's I was gonna say the guy who's like competing got Daniel Jones and he got Devontae Adams and a second round pick.
In
Fields,
Dynasty,
but
doesn't it feel like a little bit like Justin Fields has more of a sure thing of starting next year compared? I don't know though. I guess you can make the argument both of them might not be starting, or both of them are. Both of them, yeah.
I think Fields is playing himself into.
I was gonna say because like I think 3 weeks ago we'd be
like,
convinced that they're drafting a QB.
He's the only one that's like doing anything on the team. You know what I mean? Like, get the guy some help and see what he can do. I mean, he's killing it.
So back to you, Norton. What like it? If you were to make an offer, and I get it, you play for this year. You and I have the model of F them picks. we don't value when we don't look at them as names, right? And even if we did, we don't necessarily. I think I don't know if I'm speaking for you, Rob, but I know Norton and I have had this distinct conversation of like we look at these picks as a percentage. Honestly, like here's my 60% hit rate. I'm trading it. That's how I view them.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier for me to spend that pick and go get a QB.
Yeah, just for me, like 2s and 3s, if you're throwing them in a trade for me, like I don't care. They mean absolutely nothing.
Same.
If you're gonna throw a first, I will entertain it depending on what's going on.
I look at them as weapons though and assets to trade.
2s and 3s don't mean I think for the majority of people, like a 2024 second, like who gives a shit what it is? You know what I mean? It doesn't move the needle on a trade for me at whatsoever. Like I just got offered a trade that involved like 2 2s and 2 3s, and I looked at it and I looked at the player he was trying to give me too. Like I looked at the player versus the player he wanted, and I was like, I don't want it. I could care less about your picks. What's the player you're trying to give me for my player? That's how I looked at it.
It's funny, yeah. I agree. I feel the same way. Like whenever anyone sends me, I'm like, you could send me literally every single person's 2 and 3 in the league. If you're not giving me like, if you're trying to get a good player from me, I literally don't care. Like it doesn't like I'm never gonna get it's rare I'm gonna get a player that's as good as the player I'm giving away. Like what?
Let me look it up.
I do agree with Mario though about I think he was going to the point where he was saying there are more assets and weapons that you can use in future trades. So like I will like it does add value in that sense. Because I do use them to just I basically like it's rare I ever am even picking after the first round because I've always flipped them.
Yeah, this dude's a piece of shit. So I'll throw this to you. It was Tyler Algier, a 25 third, a 25 second, a 25 second. Two 25 thirds, 2 25 seconds, Tyler Algier for Najee. I laughed at it. I'm like, what are we doing? I mean,
shit, dude.
If
but
anything,
Tyler Algier for Najee right now is close enough.
That's the trade that I looked at. I'm like, okay, is Tyler Algier worth Najee? That's how I looked at it. I saw the picks and I was like, I could care less. No.
You don't think so?
No, not yet.
You're going down a dark path with Najee.
I was just thinking, I was like, man,
you would trade Najee for Tyler.
I hate Algier. No, like I wouldn't.
Okay.
I would need somebody in that sort of like category though. Like, but I do feel like
who?
Because we're a startup, Rob. He's looking at Najee and it is Rob, I know you're going to get mad at me, but it is like it's one of those players that right now, and I'm sure a lot of dynasty owners, especially coming off of a startup, it's sunken cost fallacy. Like it's sinking. It's just sinking.
I said something the other day. I tweeted something out. I was like, is there seriously anyone that's more down bad than Najee Harris dynasty managers? Dude, it's gotta be unreal brutal because
especially after a startup.
Dude,
that's what I'm saying.
Look at it like pennies. He's worth pennies right now, right? Like he's worth pennies.
Yeah.
So why would I not just hold on to him? Like you're not getting anything back for him, right?
You got a lot of ammo in that offer.
You might as well just wait on it and see how it plays.
The hard part though, with like I agree with you in a sense. The hard part about it is like when you hold on to Najee, you almost feel compelled to start him.
No. I don't.
Not starting him.
I don't.
You're not starting him.
No, I'm not. I'm starting Montgomery and Mostert over him, and
you don't have Warren. You should go out and get Warren. Although I don't necessarily think he's like
available.
The next coming. You know who has him? The Steelers fanatic.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like for me, how I view this is, if you were going to sell him, it would have been like week 3, something like that. Now the value's gone. But there's no value, so you might as well ride it out.
I think you had some value in that trade offer, though.
Tyler Algier.
You know what's wild? You know what's wild is before the year in one of
value though.
Before the year in one of my
Norton
leagues,
keeps laughing.
I keep laughing. Well, I keep laughing because the Tyler Agile thing, but before the year in one of my leagues, I mean, you guys knew how down I was on Najee compared to consensus.
Both Rob and I
want to talk about it, dude.
And
we had Najee high.
I was too. I was super low just because my point was that we all went over it, but
favorite.
Yeah, and
least favorite take.
And so before the year in one of my leagues, I traded him away for Saquon plus. And that was beautiful now.
Yeah.
Because now you would have to trade Najee plus a ton to get Saquon. But at the time, Najee was consensus above Saquon, and he was younger, and everyone just was like, oh, he's younger. And it was I'm in my head, I'm I don't give a shit about that. I just don't I think his value is going to go way down from what his perception is. Yeah. And
he's barely younger too, which is
that's the thing. Yeah, he wasn't even that much younger.
Rob and I both we spent all summer looking at all these stats, and everything that we would say typically, I guess not everything, typically everything that we would say had a reason and a rhyme to it. But with Najee, outside of volume, it was this when you're saying, I hope his efficiency gets better. And really, and then you get the red flags of which was too late for Dynasty, the red flags of the foot injury.
That came on late. It came on late.
Yeah, I think we just out of hoping because the volume was going to be there. The 370 carry threshold or touch threshold, I can't remember which one it is, might be a fault. It may be fake, but it's kind of true. Guys struggle on the year after that.
Well, I think it's more or less, honestly, I don't think it's even necessarily I think there is something maybe to it a little bit, but I think it's more or less that they already have gotten so much volume that at that point, you can't really go up from that volume. So you're almost guaranteed to go down.
You're saying you see their ceiling.
You already see it. Yeah, you've already seen it. So that was my big thing with him. I had said, he was running back 8 on points per receptions. Right, exactly. He was running back 8 on a points per game basis with that type of volume that he already had, and there was no way in my mind he was getting that volume, especially as a pass catcher. So the only way to go was down for him. I was unless the offense got more efficient and was awesome, which I just didn't see that happening with a Pickett and Trubisky combination.
The offensive line, there was just every red flag that I own this more than you, Rob, because I thought for sure that Najee would have been a great pick. I picked him in best balls.
The volume, look at, like you said, looking at the volume, it was sweet.
That's my least favorite thing. But I did want to talk about one more thing about Dynasty. Did I cut you off on something? I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
Last piece, because I think this is worth noting. I think it's something that we talked about in Discord. So if we enjoyed talking about in Discord, I think people would like to hear it. What are you doing for Trey Lance? If you're a QB needy team, are you throwing some offers for Trey Lance? The dude is supposedly the starter of the 49ers. This is an offense that produces. He should be running the ball. What are we throwing out there for Trey Lance if you're looking at your Ryan Tannehill Superflex?
I think you start I would offer a trade for him. If my team's not good, right?
Yeah.
If I need to rebuild the quarterback room, I would start with.
Would you? Okay. If your team here, this is great. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's a good question.
Your team is looking like a top 3 pick. You have no QBs. Are you looking to give? Because I don't think anybody's trading Trey Lance for anything under than a first. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think they're the Trey Lance believers are the believers. Are you giving up Stroud or Bryce Young for Trey Lance?
No.
Neither of you.
Neither, and I was high on Lance.
Yeah.
So no.
I just don't think you can do it after an injury like that, and the fact that you haven't seen him play. So it's a rookie for a rookie, regardless, right? We haven't seen him play. So it's the same. You don't even know the situation
because he could come back and not be the starter, the same way Stroud or Young could go somewhere and not be the starter.
I would say if Lance was struggling, but if the situation was where Lance wasn't hurt, but he was struggling right now but he was still running, I would probably do it personally, just because I'm so big into running quarterbacks. And it'd be the same scenario we saw with Justin Fields earlier in the year, where he was still running a little bit, but it was looking really bleak.
Yeah.
And then I would still go and do it because then you can see what the turnaround looks like with Fields. And like I think Lance has that same kind of ability. I think Fields is a better passer, personally. I think Lance is a bigger like athlete, like just bigger, and like he has better weapons. So that's why I was really bullish on Lance. So like if the situation was he wasn't hurt, I would be willing to pay that. But being hurt, like Rob said, trying to come off a major injury like that, that's just really tough because we don't know the timeline. We really don't know if he's going to come back, like you said, as the starter. Like we don't. There's so much unknown.
I had one more quick hitter, and then we'll call it a day on Dynasty Talk. Is there any sort of so I have this belief that Jared Goff is our next journeyman, and when starting, Jared Goff actually does produce fantasy numbers, sometimes more, sometimes stinkers. Is he somebody that, like, for his price tag, which is probably low, especially after the past couple of weeks, is he somebody? I think he'll be a Jet next year. It's my prediction. It's my bold prediction. It's a random guess. Is there a price tag that you'd be willing to pay for Jared Goff, or do you think that's silly? Like, I don't want to replace Ryan Tannehill with Jared Goff.
Same thing. I throw like a second and an old receiver I don't care about.
I don't even know if you'd have to throw the receiver.
Just throw
Honestly,
a second.
yeah.
I mean, you start with the second.
I think that's good value for Goff.
Yeah,
I don't think people value him the way that we're talking about him right now. Or the way
I was to say,
describe him.
I'm stingy, so I'd probably start with a third just to see what happens, and like then let people counter from that point.
Always undercut.
Yeah,
I think Goff is going to be a starter in this league for quite some time, but I don't think that's going to be in Detroit always.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it as like, where would I go? Right? Like, what's my highest limit?
What's your highest? Yeah,
I would throw a second, like an Adam Thielen, something like that.
Okay.
That way, I think that would definitely, honestly, like Mario said, I think that would definitely get it done if you go up to that. And like, obviously, you said you're going to start lower, but I think if you worked your way up to that, I think you would get that done.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you guys think he's a sneaky stash if you're trying to replace some QB depth? And
I mean, in a super flex, yeah, like QB is always a valuable position more than most. I mean, it's probably the most valuable position. It's hard to hit on a starting quarterback regardless. And you've seen what he can do. Like, is he going to be a league winner? No, but can he be a top 18, top 15 QB? Sure. Yeah. And he can
have some top 5 games.
And I don't think he's ever going to really kill you. So I'd be fine with it.
Yeah. All right, cool, dudes. Well, we need to think of what we're going to talk about dynasty-wise next week. Tomorrow we have our we're going to do some fantasy accolades. We're going to do some mid-season awards. So make sure we're checking out that. Any last thoughts on Dynasty, boys?
Nope.
Yeah, not for me.
Love Dynasty chat.
For sure. Yeah, it's awesome.
Do it all day.
I feel like I'm going to go out and try to get Jared Goff or something now that I hear you guys talk about it. Am I muting?
Go ahead.
Who's got Jared Goff? Because I'm going to get him.
Alex.
I don't have it. Alex is going to want 8 firsts.
Yep.
If you're not already, check us out on Twitter at DadBodFS. If you're not following Rob Norton at Norton0723. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, DadBod Fantasy Squad is where we'll be posting those videos. And we'll post all the recordings to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Robbie?
All the major streaming platforms.
For myself, for Rob Norton, for Robbie. Peace.